Evelyn's POV today, my boyfriend Brandon will finally propose to me in front of my father. He didn't inform me in advance, but it was already widely discussed. I was more than prepared to act like he wanted it to be a surprise. I was more than prepared to act like it was one, but I wasn't sure if I could hide it well after I saw him, though. Even thinking about what was going to happen caused a shiver of excitement to race through me. It had been ages since the Silverwood family last planned a wedding. In fact, the last grand gathering the Grand Estate held was for my father's second marriage. Victoria was a proud woman whose painted red lips would always be pursed with an attitude of arrogance and entitlement. The woman's interests were strictly in line with either herself or her daughter. Olivia, needless to say, she never failed to make me feel less than others around me. To her, I was considered no more than just another servant. A troublemaker, a wild child. Well, I certainly wasn't conventional on a social level, that was for sure. Growing up, I found comfort amongst the staff rather than my own relatives, but I stopped caring about their opinions a long time ago. As Brandon and I got closer, I realized that all I truly wanted was the one thing I never had. A family. A true pack that I could call my own. And I was ready to have it all with Brandon. The love that came to be between us had blossomed like a special flower. Over time, he became my reason for wanting more beyond the estate. On the hardest days, the mere thought of him made me smile. Knock, knock, knock. Asterisk. I turned my head at the subtle knocking at the door. "Miss Amelia," one of the servants called softly. "Everyone is waiting for you in the drawing room. You must get ready." A glorious smile curved my lips as another whirl of giddiness coursed through me. I headed toward my wardrobe. I grabbed one of my better dresses and quickly hauled myself into the bathroom. Unlike my stepsister, I preferred to get ready in the morning without the help of servants. It didn't take me long. Once I was properly dressed, I made quick work of my hair and decided to keep my makeup light and natural. With one last look at myself in the mirror, I stepped out of my room. As I made my way toward the front drawing room, I walked past a small group of staff members who all glanced at me with pity. It was as if they knew something that I didn't. It was almost enough to make me stop and ask what was wrong. However, the moment I entered the room, I was quick to discover that the energy in the room was as cold and dismal as it was in the hall. All the excitement I had built up to this very moment had instantly depleted. Both my father and stepmother stood on one side, while Brandon and Olivia were placed on the other side. As usual, my heart fluttered when my eyes caught sight of Brandon, however. His eyes remained locked on the floor, not sparing a single glance at me. What was going on? I tried to approach him. "Brandon, what?" Olivia stepped in my way, blocking me from getting to Brandon with her typical fabricated smile painted on her lips. "You see, well, there has been a sudden change." My brows pulled together in question, suddenly. My father, speaking out in his icy tone, spoke directly. "Sit down," he ordered. As soon as I took my seat, Brandon took a small step forward. His stern look caused my anxiety to simmer beneath the surface. "Why won't he look at me? Has something happened? Amelia?" he said shortly. There wasn't a stitch of emotion in his voice to be heard. My eyes widened, and my mouth fell open in shock. Olivia weaseled her way back to his side and purposely nuzzled his arm with a smug grin as though to mock me for my sudden loss. "You see, I found Olivia to be a much better match for me." I struggled to find the right words. "A better match? Olivia embodies the refined qualities an alpha daughter should have. If she hadn't rejected my advances in the past, I would never have come to you," Brandon explained. My heart clenched in my chest so tightly, I feared that it was going to implode. He never loved me. All that time, he and I had spent getting to know each other and wanting to build a future together. It had all been a lie. "So, you just used me to stay close to the pack, is that it?" I asked weakly. The corners of my eyes were filled with unshed tears. "I never loved you," he claimed. "I only pursued you because Olivia initially rejected me." Victoria came to my side and half-heartedly patted my shoulder. There was no mistaking her pleasure in my humiliation and agony as her tone was condescending. Olivia had changed her mind about Brandon after seeing his pack's recent success. she claimed. Let's be honest with ourselves. Amelia, did you really think you could have a fruitful marriage with Brandon? You know, as the elder sister, you really ought to step aside for Olivia. She deserves a chance at something special and important. It was the same old story as always. Whenever Olivia wanted something of mine, she took it. Why would this have been any different? I hastily put a decent amount of space between Victoria and myself, blinking back the mournful tears of my tattered future with the man I thought cared for me. What truly hurt the most was the fact that most of Brandon's success was all due to me and my efforts. I'd spent months designing and planning out trade routes and building supplies that were vital for the developing growth of the future of Brandon's pack. Olivia hadn't taken part in any of it. She didn't know the first thing that went into knowing how to properly care for a pack. She hadn't so much as spoken to a servant if it didn't involve some kind of selfish need. Yet, everyone believed her to be the perfect match for Brandon. But I knew better. Time will tell everyone the truth. Unfortunately, Victoria wasn't finished in her rant over how wonderful of a match Olivia and Brandon were. I was just about ready to leave the drawing room and head back to bed. Shockingly enough, the conversation shifted back to me. Since your father and I have been discussing your future, we thought it best that you marry someone else, Victoria commented. I whipped my head around to glare at the woman in shock. I could easily make out the excited glimmer in her eyes. My stomach filled with dread, and I instantly knew that it wasn't good. Amelia's POV, before I even had the chance to ask who it was my parents were choosing to give me away to. Victoria stepped forward with a wide grin on her face. It is young Alpha Marcus from the Moonstone Pack, she said. My heart sank. Within seconds, the shock was beginning to sink in. I wasn't sure when I stopped taking in literal breaths. All I knew was that all the blood that was meant to be circulating through my system had rushed to my head, making me feel dizzy and disoriented. I was waiting for my knees to buckle out from under me. I was waiting for my vision to grow tunneled and for my sight to black out. Marcus Blackwood. I didn't know anything personal about him, but I knew of his pack's reputation. The Moonstone Pack was the current largest pack in the country. According to what I'd heard through passing conversations amongst the staff, Moonstone Pack owed all of its success to its alpha. If it was 3 months ago, it was impossible for our packs to unite through marriage. Even if it happened somehow, Victoria would have saved the choice for Olivia. The young alpha had been praised for being handsome and highly skilled in battle. He had defeated many poorly managed or undeserving alphas and had earned the title of war god. He was exceedingly intelligent and had expanded his territory through trade. Our pack was truly no match for his, however. 3 months ago, he'd been horribly injured in a major accident. Now, word was circling around that he looked terrifying, was disabled, and his temperament had become violent due to his life's changes. Marcus's pack had stopped expanding, and rumors that Marcus would never recover began to spread. And since then, he'd managed to turn down, rather frighten off, 2 other previous matches. It seemed no one was able to handle this newly transformed alpha. You see, it has all been arranged through the king, Victoria recounted. The king? My brows pulled together in immediate confusion. What does he have to do with something as trivial as this? Unless, rumor had it that because of Marcus's striving popularity, he led the Alpha King to become rather wary of his ever-growing status. The Alpha King, feeling threatened by Marcus's strength and constant pack expansion, was probably looking to further weaken him. That had to be it. Setting him up with someone like myself, who didn't come from a necessarily large and influential pack, meant that Marcus wouldn't be able to benefit from any future marriage. No doubt the other women came from smaller packs as well. Perhaps the young alpha had come to that exact conclusion himself. Why me? I asked bluntly. Surely I had nothing more to offer him than the last 2 Lunas he has previously scared away. It is true, the Alpha King has tried arranging marriages for Marcus before. 1 or 2 times, I believe. Victoria went on with a dismissive wave of her hand. I clenched my jaw at her impassive behavior toward the situation. Yes, but they were called off before the wedding due to his frightening appearance, confirming the rumors. My fear of the matter was evident, but my stepmother merely went on to explain with a smile. The king is willing to offer us a large sum of wealth for this marriage. It is an opportunity we should accept. I thought it over. And since Marcus is 28, he is not a good match for your younger sister. You are older, so it has to be you. It is just that your sister likes Brandon, so we've adjusted the marriage arrangements. Oh, for Christ's sake. I knew that age was never the real issue here. Hell, I was only 22, just 4 years older than my sister. I didn't bother to hide my sneer. Yes, you've adjusted the marriage arrangements at the cost of everything I'd been building and held dear to me. My relationship with Brandon really held no hope. But from the clear look of things, he didn't seem to mind the switch. Olivia remained happily wrapped around his arm while occasionally shooting me with a knowing grin. My heart hammered within my ribcage so fiercely that I was afraid it was going to break. The anger that was simmering beneath my surface was gnawing at my very bones. I knew that was just some bullshit excuse for them to use rather than admit the real truth. Money. This all came down to the money the Alpha King was offering my family. The man had raised the stakes on this specific proposal, and my parents were all too happy to jump at the opportunity. I had always been an outsider in this pack, never receiving any privileges that the rightful daughter to the elder Alpha should have. Now they were trying to profit from my marriage. "You can't force me to do anything," I said, intending to leave. My father's voice came out strong and unnerving. "Perhaps you ought to think about your twin brother, Lucas." My heart tightened, and I turned back in disbelief to look at my father. Marcus wasn't the only one who suffered a traumatic incident. My twin brother, Lucas, had also been injured in that car accident 3 months ago. He now needed various machines to survive. Is my father seriously using my brother's life as a threat? "Lucas is your only male heir. Do you want to stop saving him?" "He has been bedridden for 3 months, and Victoria is pregnant with a boy," the doctor says. My jaw dropped in shock. The tears I managed to blink back had come rushing forth. Unlike Victoria, my father wasn't hiding Marcus's terrifying nature. He was blackmailing me with collective interests and my brother's life. If I married Marcus and accepted the king's reward, they would take care of Lucas. Simple as that. Fine. I could feel my voice shiver. It pained me to no end, but I had no choice. Third person POV of Marcus Blackwood stood tall and handsome, his face utterly flawless, in front of the large window in his private home office. Ethan, his loyal beta, stood idly next to his desk. "How come there is another woman agreeing to marry me?" he asked darkly. Ethan spoke plainly. "Perhaps it is because of the king's reward," he answered. "I heard it was rather substantial." The Alpha blew out an impatient breath and bit back a sneer of disdain. "No matter, she'll run like all the others." He turned to glance over his shoulder. "Everything else should proceed as usual, and we must respect the king's arrangements. But just like before, prepare those things for me. I want to teach this young girl a lesson about her recklessness." Marcus was out to disprove the famous phrase, "Third time's the charm." He was willing to ensure that this marriage did not take place. Amelia's POV. I hadn't wanted to get out of bed that morning. The moment my eyes peeled open, I was instantly filled with horrible regret and an overwhelming sense of anxiety. This wasn't how I was supposed to be feeling, not on the day of my own wedding. I kept wondering if I had made the right choice in my response to the Alpha King issue. I always found that I was led to the exact same conclusion. My brother. This marriage is not about me. It is about Lucas. All that mattered was that with that money from the king, he would be able to continue the medical care that was needed. I didn't exactly come to any sort of happy resolution on this whole matter. I just came to the realization that I didn't have a choice. Might as well get up so we can get this whole thing over with then. Without wasting any more time, I rolled out of bed and headed straight for the bathroom. I threw my hair up into a loose bun on top of my head and grabbed for my robe. Once I secured the soft belt around my waist, I made off toward the living room for breakfast. My mind felt hazy. Of course, everything around me came into clear, painful focus the moment I got to where I was going. I stood frozen in the doorway of the living room while Brandon was already present. He was sitting at his usual spot with a mug of coffee and the latest copy of the newspaper clutched in his hands. I hated how he acted like nothing had changed, like he hadn't literally torn my heart from my chest by allowing this ridiculous switch to happen. If he had stepped up to deny my parents the chance of selling me off to this other alpha. Then again, this was the same man who stood awkwardly silent through the entire ordeal. What was he even doing in here? Everyone had been told that this was where the new bride-to-be was meant to be getting ready before the ceremony. Brandon spotted me in the doorway and lowered the paper down. I curled a brow upward in question. "Why are you here? Come to give me some pointers on how not to treat my future spouse?" I asked, my voice dripping in sarcasm. He opened his mouth to speak, but quickly closed it into a firm line. I narrowed my eyes at him, wanting to make him disappear from my sight. My stomach spun with sickness from the notion that we were once together. After being told that my future was being bought and sent away, our relationship felt like it had happened decades ago. Yet, it still hurt me to simply look at him. Why the long face?" Olivia asked with a delighted giggle. "This is your wedding day. Shouldn't you be happy or something?" "Shut up, Olivia," I muttered. My stepsister burst out in laughter while Victoria came into the room. "You know, you really ought to be getting ready," she remarked. "We'll be leaving soon." Olivia wrapped her arm around Brandon and beamed at me with fake enthusiasm. "Yes, we're all looking forward to your ceremony." "Oh, wonderful." Was she really dragging Brandon along? "So the wedding is going to be taking place there?" I questioned dully. "Yes, since Marcus can't travel far, the wedding will be held in one of his many rooms instead," Victoria explained. "No doubt it will be a simple wedding," Olivia pointed out roughly. She turned to glance at Brandon, giving him a flirtatious smile. "Remember, I am expecting a grand wedding with dozens of flowers and shiny white satin." Fay knock, knock, knock. Asterisk the gentle knocking on the door had us all turning our heads to find that the wedding stylist team had arrived. Victoria graciously allowed them all in and the team began setting up each of their designated stations. Emma, the team leader, led me over to one of the chairs and placed a large pad in front of me. The screen showed photos of expensive wedding gowns. As I scrolled through, each one of them was more expensive and beautiful than the one before it. I had no idea how my family was going to afford such a luxurious dress and setup. Alpha Marcus has already ensured that today's preparations have all been financially covered, Emma told me. She gave me a knowing wink, giving my nerves a chance to calm down. Damn, could this woman read minds too? Seeing the expensive dresses on the screen, Olivia folded her arms over her chest and wore a bitter expression on her face. "You shouldn't rely on money to make this marriage work," she said tightly, as if she was persuading herself. "Money isn't everything, you know." "Whatever you say," I replied while I decided on a hand. Embroidered off, shoulder gown with a long, lacy train in the back. I would personally prefer simpler ones, but this is what I imagine to be appropriate for the Luna of an alpha like Marcus. Elegant, noble, exquisite. The stylist team pulled out the dress I'd chosen and immediately helped me into it. Within the hour, I had transformed into a completely different person. My makeup was light but impactful. As soon as the final touches were made, I stepped out of the living room, and everyone was taken aback by my otherworldly appearance. Even my family had very little to remark on. What amused me most of all was the engrossed struck look Brandon wore on his face. Olivia was quick to swat at his arm and pout at his reaction. As I was preparing to leave, I had one of the staff grab the bag I had pre-packed the night before. After the ceremony, I wasn't likely to return to this place, so I made sure to pack the things that were most important to me, along with my mother's keepsakes, which I always carried with me. One of which was a handcrafted sea blue aquamarine necklace. Normally, I would keep it in my side pocket. However, this dress didn't come with any sort of place for me to store the keepsake, so I made sure to safely stow it in my bag. As my family headed out to their own vehicles, I secretly snuck off to visit my brother. The only sound that greeted me was the representative beeping of the machines. But over time, I found them to be a comfort, knowing that they were keeping Lucas alive. I gently bent down to press a soft kiss on his head. I am going to miss you so much. But I am going to make sure that you'll be taken care of. Okay. The staff wished me luck on the new chapter of my life I was undergoing. It made my heart swell with sadness, seeing they were all reluctant to see me go. Hurry up, Amelia. That is right. We don't have all day. One of the staff members leaned forward and gave me a reassuring smile. Don't worry. We'll make sure that your brother is well looked after. Thank you, I whispered. I turned back to face my family, and to no one's surprise, they were all impatient with what was going on. The only look Victoria really had in her eyes was eagerness, no doubt for the money that the Alpha King was promising them. Olivia was still relishing in the childish tantrum she'd thrown earlier while I was getting ready. Then there was Brandon. The man seemed to look at me with loss and an unspoken solemnness. Was he possibly feeling regret? It shouldn't matter what he is feeling. It is too late. He has clearly made his decision, and he is not going to speak up now. Nevertheless, I felt deeply helpless. It was hard to think that the staff members seemed to care more about me than my own family. I made my way over toward the car but was stopped by Olivia holding up her hand. You know that our car is too small and your dress is likely to get wrinkled, she said with a cold smile. Emma rushed to my side. No worries. Alpha Marcus also arranged for multiple large limousines to pick up you and your family. He wanted to ensure that your dress stays wrinkle-free. Really? I asked with a hint of disbelief. It was hard to believe that this was all coming from the same man who was known for having a mean temper. Perhaps it was to show the king that he respected the arrangement that had been made. Emma nodded her head and smiled. Yes, the cars will arrive in just a few moments. And also a delicious lunch will be served on board, so you can eat, should you get hungry. I caught Olivia's newly soured expression out of the corner of my eye. Truly, neither one of us expected Marcus to make such a grand show of this arrangement. Either way, it left Olivia sneering with irritation. She clearly hadn't anticipated this level of luxury. I could feel my face flushing under her words. I wasn't used to being lavished with so much attention before. I wasn't sure how to handle it. The journey to Blackwood Hall was long, and I hadn't officially entered Marcus's pack until that afternoon. All I felt was nervousness. Amelia's POV when the cars pulled onto the Blackwood estate. My eyes were immediately drawn to the vast landscapes that surrounded the massive manor. The place was surrounded by gorgeous, tall pine trees that bordered the property. The Moonstone Pack was known for their trading, but nothing would have ever prepared me for the amount of various crops and resources that the estate single-handedly produced. I was truly captivated. There were orchards and organized sections of fruit, bearing bushes and vegetable patches, all of which were being tenderly attended to by numerous groups of pack members. Everyone seemed determined, focused, and inept to work in such conditions. A few members glanced up from their work to steal a quick glance at what was going on. Everyone seemed busy at work, and there wasn't any other real indication that there was a wedding about to take place. My heart leaped into my throat for the 100th time since this morning when the car finally came to a stop. The actual house looked like something out of a fairy tale. As far as I was concerned, Silverwood Manor had always been a place of luxury and high social standing. However, nothing could have prepared me for the architectural majesty that was Blackwood Hall. The place was massive, likely 3 times the size of my own home. Its light red brick structure was adorned with white marble and numerous columns. Maybe it was because Marcus technically lived alone. I took a few steady breaths in, hoping to mentally prepare myself for the driver to open the door for me. With the much-needed help from a few of the maids, I was able to gracefully get out of the car without tripping. An older woman with a formal-looking uniform came out to greet us with a soft smile. "You must be Miss Amelia," she said. "I am Sophia, the housekeeper here." "Hello, Sophia. It is nice to meet you." "And these people must be your family," she greeted. "If you will all follow me, please." My family and I were led into the front hall, where I was pleasantly surprised to find it lightly decorated for the occasion. Small bundles of freshly clipped and arranged flowers were placed throughout the place, along with delicate ribbons of white lace. The living room was large and decently spacious with high ceilings. The setup was respectable, given the circumstances. I really thought that for a brief moment, things were going to be all right. Maybe I wasn't going to regret this marriage after all. However, those hopeful thoughts vanished from my mind within seconds when I noticed that beside the altar, on the right side, was a wheelchair, a mask, and half a prosthetic limb. It was a terribly eerie sight, but it begged the question, where on earth was Marcus? Where was he? Did Marcus somehow forget that today he and I were supposed to be getting married? I doubted it. Although I didn't personally know Marcus, something like him wasn't prone to making careless mistakes. So where the hell was he? Sophia cleared her throat. She appeared a bit sheepish as she spoke. Alpha Marcus will not be making an appearance, and these items are here to represent him. I raised my brows in shock. Are you serious? She nodded her head. What about his family? I asked. Again she shook her head. They couldn't make it today. What the hell kind of wedding was this? Sophia gestured for the rest of my family to kindly take their seats while she went to greet the priest. As soon as she left the room, Olivia broke out into endless cackles. Her face was turning redder by the second, and she was gasping for air. Oh, this is absolutely hysterical, Olivia laughed. Your fiancé didn't even have the decency to show up to his own wedding. Clearly, he is not looking for a wife, but someone else to take care of him. My cheeks flushed with deep embarrassment. Brandon lightly cleared his throat. Olivia, perhaps you shouldn't. Olivia ignored him. Come on, am I the only one seeing this setup here? Just think how well you'll fit in here. Amelia, you were practically a servant in the last house. Now you'll be a caregiver to a horrible disabled man in this house. My heart sank into my stomach, while an awful feeling washed through me. I couldn't believe the lack of control over her behavior she had. For Christ's sake, we were literally standing in Marcus's home and she was utterly bad. Mouthing him what bothered me all the more was just how useless Victoria and my father were at that moment. Neither one of them even batted an eye at my stepsister's appalling attitude. I turned and glared at the younger girl with anger behind my voice. Shut up, Olivia. These are just normal tools that allow him to be able to function. But Olivia merely smirked and shook her head. Wow, you are not even married, and already you are defending him. It is both sweet and pathetically sad. Right as I was about to go off on her again, another voice spoke out. May I beg your pardon? The tone was calm yet authoritative, sending chills down my spine. All of us turned our heads to see a man sitting in a wheelchair while wearing a half-formed mask over his face. There were 2 staff members standing behind him, along with another man who I assumed to be his close assistant. Oddly enough, my father was the first to react. Alpha Marcus. Was this really him? Although he was sitting in a wheelchair, the man was physically fit and strong. His posture exuded confidence, giving off an oppressive aura as someone in a higher position. His sapphire-like eyes, sharp jawline, tan skin, and sensual lips, combined with the mask and his expensive attire, gave him an air of mystery and nobility. It made one wonder how striking his face must be underneath the mask, which was in stark contrast to the terrifying rumors that surrounded him. But everyone knew that underneath the mask, his face had likely been severely burned, making me feel twinged with pities. Sorry, Olivia meekly apologized. My father turned to give my stepsister a weak look of disapproval for her earlier behavior. Olivia, you ought to keep better control over your words and know if and when it is appropriate to say such things, he reprimanded. Perhaps you should go and wait in the car. I fought back the urge to roll my eyes at the scene. Of course, even at a time like this, my father would be going easy on Olivia. With the one half of his face that was still visible, Marcus raised a brow. Is that all? He asked casually. For someone with such a loose tongue, I think you deserve to have it removed. Amelia's POV for the first time in several years. I saw a look of pure fear on my father's face break out into a sweat. My father was never known for being a weak man. He had never been one to grovel or plead when mistakes were made. He had always worn a stern, unwavering stoic expression. Even during the toughest times, the man was practically unbreakable. But that clearly wasn't the case here. This man who hadn't shown me an ounce of emotion for the majority of my life had practically broken into tears. His expression was pinched and shaking with worry, all because of what Marcus remarked in light of Olivia being reprimanded. My own eyes practically bulged out of my head when my father nearly stumbled forward. Marcus had frankly shocked everyone with his remark. Was he being serious? Imagine a world without Olivia having the ability to speak. My own breathing faltered for a brief moment. The undeniable look in Marcus's eyes was proof that he was utterly serious. Not a single shred of evidence was visible in order to make me think twice. It sent countless shivers down my spine, for crying out loud. My own father was practically shaking where he stood. What was this man capable of? Was I seriously about to marry this man? While my father was seconds away from groveling, Victoria looked as if she didn't even bother to speak up on Olivia's behalf. As for my stepsister, she turned several shades paler and was on the verge of tears. "Oh, please," my father begged, "please spare my daughter such torture." My gaze flickered back to Marcus, who appeared even more disinterested than when he first entered the room. He let out a long breath and waved his hand. I refused to even think that I would be associated with such a family that allows their own daughter to speak with disrespect and disdain toward people she doesn't even know. Again, my father was pleading for mercy on behalf of Olivia's poor manners. Still, no one else was willing to step up on her behalf to reason with Marcus. They all knew the situation, and all of them knew better. "I am afraid I must insist that something be done," he pushed sternly. My father slowly nodded his head and glanced at Olivia in shame. "I understand." Olivia was shaking her head in fear, still too frightened to speak up for herself. Brandon stood there with not a single word or thought, most likely because he too was afraid of what Marcus would do. Oddly enough, Marcus had turned his head to spare me a quick glance. I partly wished I knew what sort of thoughts were running through the man's mind. Then again, maybe it was a good thing that I didn't. "I take back my previous order and instead demand that your stepdaughter be confined for no less than a month," he stated coldly. Olivia broke out in sobs. Good God. One would have thought she'd just been sentenced to a lifelong stay in prison. This time Victoria stepped forward, but Marcus wasn't hearing any of it. "1 month," he ordered. "She will be confined for 1 month, in which she will spend reflecting on her boorish behavior and learn how to properly conduct herself in the presence of others." "Oh, please," Victoria implored with desperation. "Please, don't be so harsh on my daughter. It is true there are times that she speaks before she thinks, but that shouldn't mean she should be harshly punished for it." "Then perhaps the same should go for you as well," Marcus snarled. "It seems that the both of you could deeply benefit from some decent self-reflection." Victoria instantly shut her mouth while her eyes remained wide in shock. Suddenly, Sophia reappeared with the priest following behind her. She took notice of the odd shift in the room. "Oh, sir, I wasn't expecting to see you today," she said with a smile. "You see, the priest has just arrived." The elderly man stepped forward and gave Marcus a slight bow of respect and gently cleared his throat. "Alpha Marcus, will you be proceeding with the marriage ceremony?" My stomach twisted with uncertainty. Wait, did Marcus have an actual choice in all of this? Was he not under the obligation of the king, like I was to my own family? I was instantly put off by the thought that my opinion on this whole ordeal never mattered. Apparently, the same could not be said for him. The room fell silent while Marcus didn't give any immediate answer to the priest, and instead turned his head to look back at me. My heart thudded frantically in my chest, having no idea what was going to happen next. "Amelia, right?" I blinked back the surprise in my eyes and lightly nodded. "Yes." Somehow his features almost softened as well as his tone. "Are you sure about going through with this wedding?" he asked. I parted my lips in shock. Are you asking for my opinion on the matter?" Once more, my father stepped forward and spoke with jumbled hastiness. "Of course, she is going through with this marriage," he said. "She has agreed since the moment we first told her about it." Marcus barely glanced at my father. "I believe I was talking to Amelia, not you," he interjected sharply. My father backed off slightly, casting me a stern, warning look while Marcus's back was turned. It made me remember what was at stake. Lucas, this marriage is meant to help take care of my brother. All I could do was nod my head. The alpha hesitated for a moment, seeming skeptical about my answer. Nevertheless, he turned back toward the priest. Proceed with the ceremony. I wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or filled with dread. One of the maids swiftly took away the empty wheelchair and Marcus resumed its place. The priest stood at the head of the altar, and my father leisurely escorted me down the aisle. While the priest began to read through the various selected passages, my mind started to wander off. I had to face the facts. My life had changed dramatically in just a few days. After giving it much thought over the past 2 days, I realized that if my family and fate were truly conspiring to put me in a difficult position, I had no choice but to make the best of it. I must live on, for the sake of my brother. I have to do my best to live a better life. I'd always put the interests of others before me, even when I was a child, so there was no reason why I shouldn't be able to do it now. When it came to Marcus, I didn't really find him all that terrifying as those rumors had insisted. Sure, he was intense and direct, but he wasn't hard to look at. Having been lost in my thoughts, I completely blocked out the part in which the priest had asked me to repeat the words, "I do." Just as I was about to correct my oversight, Marcus held up his hand. "Stop." He gave me that same sincere look from earlier. "Amelia, you don't have to force yourself to do this. I will allow you to not marry me without consequences." My heart plummeted as he turned to leave. I caught the threatening look in my father's eyes. He couldn't have been more wrong. There were consequences. Without a marriage, there would be no reward from the king, and then my brother's life. Before I had a chance to contemplate my options, I found myself taking off after Marcus. I placed a hand on his shoulder and turned him to face me. "Yes, I do," I told him breathlessly. I leaned down and pressed my lips to his. I felt him go stiff, probably from shock from my boldness. Pulling back, his eyes had gone wide with surprise. It had just then occurred to me that Marcus hadn't said he agreed to this marriage yet. The priest, realizing I had rushed the process, quickly shouted, "Oh, I guess I pronounce you husband and wife, and you may kiss your Luna." Amelia's POV ever since I made the hasty, bold decision to kiss Marcus. He'd been eyeing me with a complex expression, even though the priest had declared us husband and wife, and that it was his right to kiss and embrace his Luna. Marcus remained unfazed and unmoving. It made me feel incredibly awkward, as if I'd crossed an invisible line that I shouldn't have. My face burned with heat, and I straightened up, smoothing the front of my gown to give my hands something to do. The room was thick with tension, the priest shifting uncomfortably while my family exchanged glances that ranged from shock to barely concealed glee at the prospect of the king's reward. Marcus's visible eye studied me for a long moment, as if he were trying to unravel the motives behind my impulsive act. Finally, he nodded slightly to Sophia, who stepped forward with a composed smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Congratulations, Alpha Luna," she said softly, gesturing toward a side door. "If you'll follow me, I've prepared a private reception in the adjacent hall. Your family is welcome to join." My father cleared his throat, stepping forward with a forced smile. "Yes, congratulations to you both. This is a momentous day for our Pax." Victoria chimed in, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Indeed, Amelia, you look radiant, and Alpha Marcus, we're honored by this union." Olivia, still red-faced from her earlier sobs, mumbled something incoherent under her breath. But Brandon remained silent, his gaze fixed on the floor. I could feel his eyes flicking toward me occasionally, laden with regret, but I ignored it. That bridge had been burned, and I had no intention of rebuilding it. We moved to the reception hall, a beautifully appointed room with crystal chandeliers casting soft light over a long table set with fine china, silverware, and an array of gourmet dishes. The scent of roasted meats, fresh breads, and exotic spices filled the air. But my appetite had vanished. Marcus was wheeled to the head of the table, and I took the seat beside him, my gown pooling around me like a white cloud. The meal proceeded in strained silence at first, broken only by the clink of utensils. My father attempted small talk, praising the estate's grandeur and the Moonstone Pack's achievements. But Marcus responded with curt nods and minimal words. Olivia sat sulking, picking at her food, while Victoria kept shooting her warning looks to behave. As the dessert was served, a decadent chocolate torte with fresh berries, Marcus turned to me, his voice low enough that only I could hear. "Why did you do that, Amelia, the kiss? You could have walked away." I met his gaze, the sapphire depth of his eye pulling me in. "Because I have no choice. My brother's life depends on this marriage, the king's reward. It is the only way to keep him alive." He frowned, the mask shifting slightly. "Blackmailed by your own family, that is low, even for them." I nodded, surprised by the hint of empathy in his tone. "They've always treated me like an outsider. But Lucas, he is all I have left that is worth fighting for." Marcus was quiet for a moment, then signaled to Ethan, his beta, who leaned down to listen to a whispered instruction. Ethan nodded and left the room discreetly. The reception wound down, and my family prepared to depart. My father shook Marcus's hand firmly, promising to uphold their end of the deal regarding Olivia's confinement. Victoria hugged me briefly, her whisper cold in my ear. "Don't ruin this, Amelia. Remember what is at stake." Olivia didn't bother with goodbyes, storming out with Brandon trailing behind her. His shoulders slumped. Once they were gone, Sophia showed me to my new quarters, a luxurious suite with a king-sized bed draped in silk, a balcony overlooking the lush gardens, and an en-suite bathroom stocked with every amenity imaginable. "If you need anything, Luna, just ring," she said kindly, before leaving me alone. I unpacked my bag, placing my mother's aquamarine necklace on the nightstand. It gleamed under the lamp's light, a reminder of the love and strength she'd instilled in me before her passing. Exhaustion hit me like a wave, and I changed into a nightgown, slipping under the covers. Sleep came in fits, haunted by dreams of wolves howling under a blood moon, and Marcus's unmasked face, scarred yet beautiful. The next morning, Sophia knocked with a breakfast tray. "Alpha Marcus requests your presence in his study after you eat." My heart raced as I dressed in a simple blouse and skirt, nerves twisting in my stomach. What did he want? The study was lined with bookshelves filled with ancient tomes on pack history and strategy maps pinned to the walls. Marcus sat behind a massive oak desk, the wheelchair positioned perfectly. "Good morning, Amelia," he said, his tone neutral. "Good morning, Marcus," I replied, taking the offered seat. "We need to establish some ground rules for this arrangement," he began. "I won't demand intimacy. This is political, but I require loyalty and discretion." I nodded. "I agree, but why the facade, the wheelchair, the mask? It is all to deter others, isn't it?" He chuckled softly, a sound that sent unexpected warmth through me. "Perceptive. The accident was no accident. It was an assassination attempt by the king's men. I survived unscathed, but Ethan and I turned it into an opportunity. By pretending to be weakened, I've lulled the king into complacency while I build my forces to challenge him." My eyes widened. "You are planning a rebellion?" "Yes," he confirmed, removing the mask to reveal a flawless, chiseled face that took my breath away. No scars, no disfigurement, just raw, masculine beauty. And now, you are part of it. My wolf senses the mate bond in you. Amelia, do you feel it?" The pull was undeniable, a magnetic force drawing me to him. "Ah, yes, but how?" "The gods have a sense of humor," he said, standing from the wheelchair with ease, revealing his full, powerful stature. "Will you stand with me?" In that moment, I knew my life had truly changed. "Yes," I whispered, stepping into his arms as our lips met in a real kiss, sealing our fate. Third-person POV weeks turned into months as Amelia integrated into the Moonstone Pack. Using her expertise in trade routes, She bolstered their resources, earning the respect of the members. Marcus trained her in combat, awakening her inner wolf's strength. Their bond deepened, evolving from allies to lovers, their nights filled with passion and whispered plans. Back at Silverwood, Olivia's confinement bred resentment. She and Brandon, regretting his choice, conspired with the king's spies to undermine the marriage and seize Moonstone's wealth. Unbeknownst to them, Marcus's network uncovered the plot. The confrontation came during a full moon summit. The king arrived, demanding proof of Marcus's frailty. But Marcus discarded his disguise, unleashing his true power. Battles raged, wolves clashing in fur and fury. Amelia fought valiantly, her necklace glowing with ancestral magic, amplifying her abilities. Olivia and Brandon were captured, their betrayal exposed. The king fell, his tyranny ended by Marcus's strategic brilliance and the pack's unity. In the aftermath, Lucas was healed using Moonstone's advanced healers, and Amelia's family faced exile, their greed their undoing. Marcus's POV as the new Alpha King. With Amelia as my queen, I held her close under the stars. You were my salvation, my true mate. Amelia's POV. And you gave me a family, a pack to call home, I replied, our kiss igniting the promise of eternity. The war god had claimed his bride, and together we reigned in love and power.